Hello and welcome to Cindershadow Gaming. I'm your host Cindershadow, and today we're going to show you about building a sealed deck for Arena. Well, I figured I'd do a little bit of a pre-release primer. I tend to do this. I usually use draftsim and I use mtgen.net. mtgen is not up to date yet. They don't have Strixhaven in place, so I'm doing this strictly with draftsim. It does the same sort of thing. Draftsim also shows you, if you did the drafting here, it also shows you the rating each card gets, and they adjust that rating dependent on your picks. So it's kind of interesting in that sense. These sites have been out there for quite a while. DraftSim also tends to get Wizards of the Coast, Magic the Gathering spoilers now. They have for a while, so they seem to be sort of endorsed by Wizards of the Coast in that sense as well. So the biggest thing here is you can do pretty much any set out there. Corsair, Premier Draft, MTGA, like they're starting to do more things on here as well. Time Spiral Remastered was out there, Kaldheim was out there, but we're looking today at Strixhaven and the School of Mages. We're looking not Draft yet, because Draft won't be available for a little bit. Well, I'll probably be able to do it once the 15th comes out. That's when this comes out, so I feel that I've got to do this now, so you guys have a little bit of prep work that you can do if you want to play sealed events for Magic the Gathering Arena. This 15th, I believe, is Friday. So today is the 11th when I'm actually filming this. This will go up a couple days after, so it should be just in time. Now, the one thing to note that I should say here is that I'm kind of worried about this set. This set is showing that there is more cards with the Mystical Archives, and it's the Mystical Archive cards that are starting to throw everything out the window with the way that you traditionally draft or play sealed. You are getting one guaranteed spell, actual spell, that is not a creature spell. And in a lot of ways, with limited play, creatures are the way you win these games. So with the Mystical Archive, you're getting one less creature in a pack. So it's kind of interesting. You know, variation matters, but because the Mystical Archives show up in the common slot, those commons are where you want the consistency for sealed events or limited events in this sense. So it's going to be very interesting to see how this plays out. You're going to probably have to look at 3 colors instead of the traditional 2 when it comes to these limited events. So first thing off the gate, we've got a Defiant Strike for a Mystical Archive. They stand out. Like, you can see them right away. You have a Memory Lapse, which is a pretty powerful counter spell. Counter target spell. If the spell is countered this way, put it on the owner's library instead of their player's graveyard. It's okay. It's not the greatest counter spell, but it is pretty powerful. A nice Negate. Negate is a regular spell. Village Rites as well, Agonizing Remorse, and Grape Shot. There's nothing crazy about that. But like I said, this is really dumbing down the amount of creatures that you're going to get in these pools. So you're probably looking, because just because of these Mystical Archives, you're looking to run probably, I'm thinking 13 to 16 creatures is where you're going to sit at, instead of the regular like 15 to 17. So do keep that in mind when you go to make your sealed decks. The other thing too, I wouldn't even start with your single colors anymore. This is a 2-colored set. Because it's a 2-colored set, you want to sit there and go into the multicolors and filter down from there. Now, I'm seeing that most of my cards are in black here by about 2 extra cards. There is also a ton of colorless options, which is something that they have added in there. I see Strixhaven Stadium right off the bat. We'll take that out of there. Strixhaven Stadium right off the bat. If you see Strixhaven Stadium and you go flying or trample, you win. You will win. Like that. That's plain and simple. if this thing gets on the board. Yeah, it's 1 out of 40 cards at this point when you play this. Now, normally when you do make a sealed or draft deck, you have 40 cards. You try and whittle it down to 40 cards. It's okay to play 41 to 45. Just adjust your land base. A lot of people say don't do this because it will hamper your chances. Now, if you're playing an arena, I don't think that logic is still the same. If you're playing in paper, you know you have shuffling and you know there's a certain level of randomization. But with arena, especially in the best of one format, there's a hidden amount of stuff that's going on behind the scenes. So playing 41 to 45 cards is going to probably benefit you in arena, because they're making sure that you get a land value in your opening hands more often than not. So there is that little thing about arena that is very different from playing in paper. I'm going to move myself over to the other side if it lets me. That way you guys can see all the cards, and then we'll make the deck this way. So, like, when I see the multicolor and it is going past the amount I can scroll, it makes it very interesting to see it there. You could turn around and lower your zoom. Right now I'm on a 200% zoom, and that's a thing that draftsim does. So you can lower it down. Of course, that means I got to adjust this a little bit. So we're going to do that. You see a little bit more. Now you see them, if you scroll over them, they do open up. So do make that note. Probably when you're trying to do this, you'll get a better idea on what's in your deck. You can even zoom in a little bit more on this. I'm probably going to go, that's 120% zoom. So that kind of is where I think you're going to want to sit it. So we have Make Your Mark, which is a red or white spell. We've got Cram Session. You're mostly looking for creatures to start off. Deadly Brew is probably pretty good. Each player sacrifices a creature. If you sacrifice a permanent this way, you may return another permanent card from your graveyard to your hand. There's 2 of them in this pool. That's probably a pretty powerful effect. The fact that you do sort of get a creature or planeswalker removal, it's kind of nice. It is good early game. Late game, not so much, because you're giving the choice to your opponent, but you do also bring something back to your graveyard. So it's graveyard recursion with an upswing, and I really do like that, because a lot of times in sealed, I don't play graveyard I don't play graveyard effects, just because once they're gone, I move on to the next card and move on. And it just, unless you have something super powerful that you're going to bring back, usually graveyard recursion won't pay off. Double Major, copy target spell you control, except it isn't legendary. This is okay. If we've got a big thing here, I would more see this with a removal spell if you're going blue-green. This is one of those if you end up there. I don't see a lot of blue-green, although there is a little bit, so we'll have to see. Ink Duelist here, Lifelink meta, spells you cast that target a creature costs 2 more to cast, so this is giving wards. Oh wait, spells you cast that target a creature cost 2 less to cast. That's actually a really big benefit. Now, where is this benefit going to lie in limited? This is probably more of a uniqueness for constructed than there. Ooh, Needlethorn Drake, Flying Death Touch. I didn't even see that. Flying Death Touch in Simic colors. That's very interesting for 2 mana. That's pretty powerful for 2 mana. If you got any force fights, that's, I don't know, that's pretty good. Square up, giving +4, making a creature 4/4. It's okay. I'm not a huge fan of this. It might get through, and then it becomes a boost early game. You maybe take away certain things. I'm not a huge fan of this, because it's a combat trick that's not going to do very much. You're not going to trade off things very much with that. Thrilling Discovery, gain 2 life, discard 2 cards. No. Boone Researcher. So this is another black-green creature. Whenever you gain life, it gets +1/+1 counter, and it's got menace. So it's got some evasion. That's a decent evasion-y sort of card. Golden Ratio, I wouldn't even play in draft or limited. Inkling Summoning. That's the other thing here. if you are playing, if you're looking at playing any sort of learn cards and lessons, leave the lessons in the sideboard, grab them when they show up. I wouldn't even put these in your main deck. There is no point to them because all of these lessons, it doesn't let me drag here, which is too bad. All these lessons you will have access to because in limited play, your sideboard is all the extra cards that you open. So all the lessons leave in your sideboard. Don't even put them in your main deck. And that eliminates probably a good 10 cards right off the bat. Lorehold, Pledge Mage. Whenever you cast or copy an instant spell, his power gets +1 until end of turn. It's a 2/2 with first strike, and it's red or white. That's not a bad combination. I just not seeing right off the bat red-white being a thing here. Pest Summoning, once again, it's a lesson. You just leave it in your sideboard. Grab it if you think you need it. Pledge Mage, whenever you 1/1 counter, he gets a counter. Now, getting a counter for casting instants and sorcery spells, when you're going to mostly have instants and sorcery spells, this is going to be very beefy creatures. So that is something to take into effect. And the fact that you can play this in blue, green, or both is something very warranted. Shadewing Laureate is a very powerful 2/2 flying. Whenever another creature you control with flying dies, put a 1/1 counter. If you're in that flying archetype, this is going to be very powerful. And to me, it's looking like white-black is more the flying archetype than white-blue has been in the past. Stonebound Mentor, whenever one or more cards leave your graveyard, scry 1. That effect is not worth it. It's a 3/3 Spirit Advisor. This card I would count this as a vanilla 3/3. That effect that's on there it's something that probably you wouldn't even see pay off. Eureka Moment, draw 2 cards. You may put a land card from your hand onto the battlefield. Well, that's going to get banned. That's a Euro's effect and a spell. That'll be banned immediately. This as a spell probably won't do much though. Not in limited play. Put 2 1/1 counters target creature. Other creatures you control get +1/+1 until end of turn. This is a great if you're going wide. Unfortunately, it's sorcery speed. If this was instant speed, this would be even better. This should have been instant speed, in all honesty, because then it's a combat trick and has more behind it. Because it's sorcery, you might not look at it. Otherwise, if it gave your creatures indestructible, like the white spells have done in the past, do similar things in this, then yeah, maybe, but no. Spiteful Squad. When he dies, you move the counters to another creature. That's okay, and he has Death Touch. However, for 4 mana, he's only a 2/2. Oh, yeah, we'll see. At least the counters get moved around, so you kind of do get a payoff there. 5 mana for 3/4 haste with tap scry 1. And you have 2 of these in blue-red. That's actually not bad. If you find a way, like having a tap scry 1 on a creature and you find a way to untap them, which I believe there is in the set, there might be something there where you can set up your entire deck. Practical Resource, draw 4 cards and discard 2. No. Kuntor's Field Historian. Spirits you control get +1/+0. Whenever 1 or more cards leave your graveyard, create a 3/2 red and white spirit tokens. He's a 2/4 Elephant Cleric for 5. You might play this if you see a synergy where cards are going to leave. Otherwise, he's dead on arrival. He's just going to be a spirit boost for 2/4 that does not much. So this is a very niche effect. Rise of the Extus. For 6 mana, you get exiles target creature. Exiled 1 target instant or sorcery card from a graveyard, and it learns. This is a solid removal spell. You're getting rid of something in their graveyard, and you're getting to get rid of a creature completely. This, for 6 mana, you take removal when you can get it. This is definitely one card I would be looking at right away. So just going through those 2 color things, I'm seeing a lot of white-black flying sort of stuff. Let's take a look at white-black and just see where we're going to be. Okay, we do have a Pillar Drop Rescuer, which is a spirit. When it enters the battlefield, return target creature card with mana value 3 or less from your graveyard to your hand. So Recursion, he's a 2/2 flyer for 5. I wish that was 4. At 4, that might be worth it. At 5, it's really limited sort of draft shaft, unfortunately. It's good. It's good for limited play, but it won't see play outside of that. Defend the campus, 1/1 until end of turn. Destroy target creature with power 4 or greater. You're playing this. This is giving you a removal possibility or a go wide possibility. It's going to be played if you're in white. Expel, exile target top creature. Like, we're looking at 3 cards that get rid of creatures straight up in white. That is huge. Target creature control gets +2/+2 and gains hexproof. It's not too bad. That's another counter in white. A 1/4 Spirit Soldier vanilla. Yeah, that's not bad as a 1/4 in all purposes. And then we have Star Pupils. Enters battlefield with 1 counter. When it dies, put its counters on target creature you control. It's not too bad. Detection Vortex is pretty good. And then you have Defiant Strike. So the white's not looking too bad. Put a 1/1 counter on target creature in black. It gains... Or you make a creature indestructible. That's not too bad. It saves a creature. You got Menace here, but it's a 1/1 frog. Exile Unwilling Ingredient from your graveyard. You draw a card and you lose a life. The draw a card effects from your graveyard is actually quite big. This card being a very early game equalizer, and in later game, not even, this is mid game at 3 mana, that lets you draw a card and lose a life. This is huge. This is a big card, and if you're in black, you're definitely playing that. Village Rites, good card. I would maybe play it if there was room. This is a fallback card that you play if there's room. Agonizing Remorse. You exile a card. Yeah, that's not too bad because it also targets something in a graveyard. So you can play this in response to someone trying to cast a spell from the graveyard. Right? No, it's sorcery. You can't. So, unfortunately. Put 2/1/1 counters to target creature. It gains lifelink. It's okay, but we do have the Star Pupil, and then you also have the Spiteful Squad that moves the counters around. So there's the possibility to play one of those. You got 3 of them here, which kind of sucks. Necrotic Fumes as additional cost to cast a spell. Exile a creature you control. Exile target. You're playing that straight up. Crushing Disappointment. Each player loses 2 life. You draw 2 cards. Destroy target creature or planeswalker whenever a creature blocks this turn. You're playing those. Lots of removal in black and white. The most of what I'm seeing here is it's very limited on creatures. Campus Guy, search for, lets you color fix. Expanded Autonomy, it's a lesson. It goes in the sideboard. It's Strixhaven Stadium. If you're looking at white-black, you're probably playing that because you've got enough flyers. What's in green with the trample? I don't see any trample in green. Green is kind of looking off-putting. Blue is the other option that you could put in there and run the 3-color Esper. Blue would probably maybe be just a splash. You do have a Waterfall Aerialist, which is flying with Ward. Blue is not overly... There is a couple things in red-white as well. Grape Shop, target creature, no. Once again, I'm seeing nothing but spells here. So many spells. You can probably get away with going just white-black here. Oh, we have a double strike. Whenever Ifrit Flame Painter deals combat damage to a player, you may cast target instant or sorcery card from your graveyard without paying its mana cost. If that spell would be put into your graveyard, exile it instead. That is a removal reoccursion spell in red. That with double strike. He's only a 1/4, but he's technically a 2/4. That's a pretty powerful card. Illuminate history, discard any number of cards. These effects have not been that good, but once again, it's a lesson, so you don't even have to put it in your main deck. Mascot Interpretation. I don't like those steal effects at all. Sometimes they'll win you games, sometimes not. Return target instant. Yeah, and there's that. So you'd be looking here probably white, black, splash red is what I would be looking at. So then from there is the green. Green removal was kind of there with the recursion, but there is so much nice removal in white black here. I wouldn't even look at green black just for that. You might be able to splash a little bit of green, but we already know we got a little bit in the red, and then we have the Historian, which it looks like there is quite a bit of spirits overall in some of these. Yeah, we got a couple in white. How many were in black? Was there any spirits? You know what? There isn't even enough spirits in the entire thing to even justify it. So, are inkling spirits? No, they're just inklings. So they're not even spirits. So yeah, you can get away with not even playing that because it's just going to be nothing crazy. Yeah, you can get the tokens, but I think I only saw 1 or 2 cards that get rid of cards in graveyards, so it's not really that big of a deal. And it's got to be from your graveyard, not theirs. So first off, put all the white in, then we'll put all the black in, and we'll make cuts from there. And then any white block here at this point. Summonings, that'll probably come out just because of what it is. There. And then campus guides are pretty much a must. That doesn't need to be mana of any color. Yep, mana fixing. Instant sorcery spell only targets him. If you do, copy that spell. You don't really have combat tricks, so he's not going to be good. The stadium we put into. And then we've got these spells that are lessons that you're looking at. Archway Commons, and yeah, and you're going to play that too. So let's change this up again so you guys can see it properly. I'm at 200. I'm going to move myself back over. So you can see here, also we're at 36. So let's add basic lands really quick. So we're looking at 17. So 7 and probably 8. We can easily fix that. How many did I add here? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And I got 9 there, so apparently 10. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So definitely turn that out. Put that down to 7 and 7 because we also have the commons that counts as a 17th land. So that's what we're looking at there. You can see at the bottom my deck count is 50, so we're looking at 10 cuts. Your easiest cuts will be anything that's a lesson. Straight up. Anything that's a lesson, which I know there was a couple. Necrotic Fumes is a lesson. And then we've got Inkling Summoning is also a lesson. And that's about it. Was there anything in here that actually learned, though? That's the other thing you got to look at. I know we had the one that was learn. Yeah, I don't really... that can come out as well. Where was that learn card? That's a lesson. Oh, wait, I think that was on the 2 color, wasn't it? No. Where was that learn? Anyway, so at this point, where do you make your cuts? Well, in creatures, I would cut the 1/4 just because he's not really doing anything. You can always put it back in. Beaming Defiance is actually decent. Where's that 1/4? Ageless Guardian is the one thing that I would cut. Professor's Warning, that's not going to do much for you. These mixed ingredients I would keep in there. The Village Rites is okay. Agonizing Remorse is okay. We can cut 2 of these Essence Infusions because honestly, you don't need more than 1. Yeah, you get counters out of it, but it's not going to be that crazy. Crushing Disappointment. Each player loses 2 life. You draw 2 cards. Just cut it. Destroy target creature or planeswalker. Whenever a creature blocks his turn, its controller loses 1 life. Those stay. Sacrifice another creature, put a 1/1 counter on him, activate this as a sorcery. They're starting to learn here with those things. Campus guides are okay. Letter of Acceptance, and then the Strixhaven Stadium. I'm already down to 42 cards, and I've barely even touched this deck. Quite easily, you can cut one of these Electrocution, or whatever it is. Keep 1 because you maybe can get to go wide. How many creatures do we have here? 1, 2. Defend the campus you're going to run. 3, 4, 5. 6, 7, 8. 9, 10, 11. This is what I mean. 11 creatures across the 2 colors. This is what I'm talking about, where the set is not going to give you the proper amount of creatures for spells. So, because there's only 11 creatures in there, I have to run the Ageless Guardian. Is there any... And you almost have to run this Reflective Golem, even though you have nothing that's going to do anything to it. Defiant Strike is okay. Village Rites is okay. Agonizing Remorse. Like, it's really changing the way you look at draft. And we didn't even get any dual lands in this one, which is very strange as well. So the way this is going to work for sealed is very difficult. 1 mana of any color is nice, and you can sacrifice it when it's useless to draw a card. You don't have to run it, but we're still looking at cutting 2 cards. And at this point, you're cutting 2 cards that are non-removal cards. You're just going to run all of them. The Exhilarating Execution is not going to do anything. You don't have enough creatures to target with. The Defiant Strike, at least you can cast it on your opponent's creatures and get a card out of it. So it is kind of worth it in that sense. Detection Vortex you keep. Beaming Defiance. You need a way to protect your creatures. You're going to run that. The Expels you run because you need to get rid of their creatures. This Defend the Campus is probably your best go wide version of a card because it does get rid of a creature, or you can go wide with it if you've got enough. The Recruiter, bringing things back. Unwilling Ingredient are okay. They're going to get you down there. But honestly, the way I'm looking at this, our win con is going to be the Stadium. Maybe getting this guy big, but you don't have enough flyers to make this matter. Yeah, I don't like this at all. Unfortunately, this is what I'd be looking at. Like, what could I do if I go into other colors? Like we took out those. That's nothing. Inkling Summoning is a lesson. Yeah, this does not bode very well when I have trouble even putting this together. I was looking at splashing red. You might just turn around and splash red here just for the creatures in red, because you've got removal, but you don't have creatures to finish out the game here, which is very unfortunate. There is the Mascot Expedition. For 7 mana, it's not going to make that much of a difference. You know, it's really tough. So that's mainly how you build a deck, and there's a lot that you gotta sit there and look at this one. You want creatures. If you can get creatures into a deck and not be so heavy on spells, you're going to succeed in this event that's coming up. You're going to succeed in this type of pre-release. But until, just the way I'm looking here, it is limited by DraftSim's programming. They don't have all the things the way that Wizards does it exactly in Arena. So there is changes that do get updated here eventually. So I would check this after this video comes out, because it'll be closer to the day. As things get closer to the day, they do ramp up very nicely. Well, if you like this bit of a primer for a pre-release sealed deck for Magic the Gathering Arena or in your store play, my thoughts on the way the set's going to play and how this limited format is quite a bit different from other ones that we have played in the past. Do let me know down below how you would maybe choose this. Maybe some of the things I did here isn't the way you're going to build it, but in a lot of cases, this is for those that don't really play a lot of these sealed events, and maybe this is something that you might enjoy in the long run. Personally, limited events for me is where I like to play Magic. I tend to find them more of an even playing field. There is a little bit of luck involved on top of a lot of skill involved when you do play these limited events. Anyway, guys, if you like this video, do let me know down below. Maybe subscribe to the channel. And also, if you want to support the channel, there are links for Patreon and memberships as well. Thanks for watching. Have yourselves a great day, and happy pre-release.